Some of you may be already aware that the first podcast I ever did was for the church was with a friend of mine named Tyler. And we were able to talk for just a little bit about multiple different topics, but it touched on the command to honor your father and mother. I was meditating on that the other day while I'm here visiting my parents, and just wanted to sit down, have some, share some of those thoughts with you, and let's think about it together. Most of you are very familiar with the Ten Commandments from the Bible that are found in Exodus chapter 20. They have regulations related to the um, don't steal, don't covet, don't commit adultery, don't bear false witness, even regulations related to keeping the Sabbath day holy. But one that is very oftentimes people that is familiar to people but misunderstood is this commandment of honor your father and mother. Now, the very text of that from Exodus chapter 20, verse 12, Exodus 20:12 is honor your father and mother that it may go well with you in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. And so, or another way to put it is that you will live long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. Interesting that is of all the Ten Commandments, this is the only one that includes a promise of future benefit. Everything else is just regulated because that's what you're supposed to do, what's right now. But that one, in which God gives that regulation with actually the argument that this is somehow to your benefit. Honor father and mother because you really will be glad you did later on. It's because of some intangible benefit that is beyond the horizon that you can't see from here. Well, oftentimes that regulation is directed at young children in terms of obedience to their obedience to their parents. Of course, someone in the West always says, "Well, what if your parents aren't really, are requiring things of the children that aren't really good, and they shouldn't be obedient?" Well, that's a rebellious culture that is going to impose that interpretation. But nevertheless, we'll say that this regulation is something this is on the child's responsibility. If the parent is asking obedience of the child in a way that's sinful, well, that's their fault, and they'll have to answer to God for that. Nevertheless, this regulation is really directed at kids. Honor your father and mother. Well, what does that look like? That manifests in different ways throughout the different walks of life. So the child honors their father and mother in a manner that, because you have to obey them. They're your primary influence for enculturating you into the world and preparing you for what you're going to encounter. And then later on, as you're a teen, you're like testing boundaries, but you're also commanded to think about how to honor these people because they actually want you to succeed later on as you leave the home. If you can't leave the home, then what have they been doing all this time? So they are highly invested in your success as growing into a real adult. But then as one leaves home and you start careers and you build your own family, honor father and mother starts to look at like something else entirely. And the obedience to this commandment looks different at every stage of life the child is in. So when they're 5 years old, honor your father and mother looks one way. When they're 50, honor your father and mother still looks an entirely different way altogether. And so this is a commandment that really just it does two things. One, it's the only commandment that offers something of a caveat, a argument that is to your benefit to do this. And two, it offers no provision. It offers no loophole. There's no caveat given. On your father and mother if you find it easy, if you find them to be particularly honorable, if they make it easy on you to do so. That's never actually included in this command. So what you have with this command is this mandate of the child to think about how you're going to figure out that means by which you honor your father and your mother as as considering the previous generation as the very least responsible for your existence, but possibly even more so having offered vital influence for which you are going to benefit from later on. But even if you can't identify that specifically, there's something about this idea of generational deference, of thinking, of humbling yourself enough to think about going, I owe something to those who came before me, even if it's not easy to detect right away. And going on a journey to figure out what that might be is to my own benefit. It's actually could be considered somewhat self-serving, although people like to think of that they're obeying the commands of God for somehow his benefit, as though he needs anything from you. No, these things are to our benefit. And this one just states it outright and openly. that honor your father and mother because it's for my own selfish interest, to make sure that you're thinking beyond and thinking about those parents and the generations that came before you. Now, for some, that again, that manifests in how you honor your father and mother differently over time. As you're older, myself, I'm here visiting my parents away from my church right now, and it's been something I've had to meditate on. And I invite you to meditate on this along with me. That your ways in which you want to serve them, you want to do what's right by them, you want to think about ways in which you can honor them. But there's some mechanics to that. There's going to be there's going to be hoops that you jump through. There's going to be inconveniences that you will consider, and you'll think about, oh my goodness, these do I need to take this on? Absolutely. Consider all the ways in which this commandment has entirely something beneficial to you. Part of that trust, part of that faith is knowing that it is a good thing that you think about them and that you think to honor the parents in manners that are beyond that you can even argue, and there are benefits awaiting you for doing that that you can't even articulate right now. There may be obvious, and again, they may be obvious to you what those benefits are, but sometimes not. It may be easy to honor those parents because of the interaction you had with them all your life. Sometimes not. But those type of caveats are never given within the Bible itself. We have to, by faith and trust, we go dive into that, thinking about how we are going to, what are the mechanics, what are the attitudes, what are the beliefs and moments of faith by which we dive into honoring them in a way that thinks about that our own children might see as a model that they can follow. Something to think about. Consider this as you go about your week. Have a great day. If you enjoyed this content, please hit like and subscribe, and we will keep it up.